Welcome back to Visions Beyond. So glad to have you all with us. We're diving deep into your sources today, and looks like it's going to be all about diabetes and diet. You guys sent in a really interesting mix of stuff this time. We've got the Better Health Channel, the Mayo Clinic, even Medline Plus, ADA, Commonwealth Care Alliance, Yale Medicine. Oh, and even a piece called The Role of Diet in Managing Diabetes, a Culinary Balancing Act. Cool. Plus some research from PMC. This is going to be good. Buckle up, because we're about to uncover how food can really be medicine when it comes to diabetes. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Visions Beyond. And hey, let us know what you want us to cover next by leaving us a comment.
You know, before we jump into all the specifics, I think it's important to just step back for a second and acknowledge all the crazy misinformation out there about diabetes and diet. It can be so overwhelming, especially when you're first diagnosed.
Oh, totally. It's like a minefield out there. But, one thing that really stuck with me from all these sources is that managing diabetes through diet isn't about like deprivation or following some crazy restrictive diabetic diet. It's more about understanding how different foods affect your blood sugar and making, informed choices that actually fit your lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. It's about finding what works for you. And that's a really crucial point. Healthy eating for diabetes is basically just healthy eating for everyone. It's about focusing on whole, unprocessed foods, balancing your meals, and being mindful of portion sizes.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. One of the sources mentioned the diabetes plate method. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. The diabetes plate method is basically a visual tool that the American Diabetes Association created to help people understand how to portion their meals. So imagine your plate divided into 3 sections. Half the plate is for non-starchy vegetables like broccoli, spinach, or peppers. 1/4 is dedicated to lean proteins such as chicken, fish, tofu, or beans. And the last quarter is for carbohydrates.
So it's not about cutting out carbs completely.
Yeah.
It's about choosing the right ones and being mindful of how much you're eating.
Exactly. And when it comes to carbs, the glycemic index, or GI, is a super helpful tool for understanding how different foods impact your blood sugar levels.
The Yale article explained that really well. It's basically a ranking of carbohydrates based on how quickly they raise your blood sugar. So lower GI foods like oatmeal or lentils cause a slower, more gradual rise in blood sugar compared to higher GI foods like white bread or sugary drinks.
Exactly. And that's why it's important to not only choose lower GI carbs, but also to combine them with protein and fiber, which can help slow down that sugar absorption.
So if you're having a slice of toast, for example, topping it with some avocado or an egg would be a smarter choice than just eating the toast plain.
Yeah.
It's all about those smart pairings.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important point. Not all fats are created equal. While it's important to limit saturated and trans fats, unsaturated fats like those found in avocados, nuts, and olive oil can actually be beneficial for heart health and can even improve insulin sensitivity.
The Mayo Clinic article really stressed how important it is to include healthy fats in a diabetes-friendly diet. I love salmon and avocado toast. It's a delicious and satisfying way to get those healthy fats in.
And speaking of things that can help slow down sugar absorption, let's not forget about fiber. This is where things get really interesting. It's not just about hitting your daily fiber goals. It's about the type of fiber you're consuming.
Oh, this is where I learned something new. The Culinary Balancing Act article talked about soluble and insoluble fiber. Soluble fiber found in foods like oats and legumes dissolves in water and forms this gel-like substance which helps slow down digestion and sugar absorption.
Right, and then you have insoluble fiber, which doesn't dissolve in water. It adds bulk to your stool and helps with regularity. You'll find this type of fiber in whole grains, vegetables, and fruits.
So the takeaway here is that we need both types of fiber for optimal health, especially when it comes to managing blood sugar levels.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate the power of staying hydrated.
Yeah.
All of the sources we looked at highlighted the importance of water.
For sure, water is essential for overall health, but for people with diabetes, it also plays a key role in helping your kidneys flush out excess sugar. Plus, it helps you feel full and prevents you from reaching for those sugary drinks, which are a big no-no for obvious reasons.
Speaking of drinks, one of the things I found interesting was that some of the sources, especially Medline Plus, address the topic of alcohol and diabetes.
Yes, that's a big one. What do they say?
It seems like the general consensus is that moderate alcohol consumption can be okay for some people with diabetes, but it's really important to talk to your doctor about it. Alcohol can mess with certain diabetes medications, and it can also cause dangerous drops in blood sugar if you're not careful.
So it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. What about like timing and frequency of meals? Does it have to be super strict?
That's another thing people worry about a lot. While consistency is definitely helpful, the sources, especially the ADA and Commonwealth Care Alliance, really emphasize the importance of finding a meal pattern that actually works for you and your lifestyle.
So if someone's used to like 3 square meals a day, they could probably stick with that.
Exactly. And for some people, adding in healthy snacks between meals can be helpful to prevent those blood sugar spikes and dips. The key is to choose those snacks wisely. You know, focusing on things that combine protein, fiber, and healthy fats, just like we were talking about with meals.
I loved the snack suggestions from the Culinary Balancing Act article. They had things like a handful of almonds with a piece of fruit or some veggie sticks with hummus. It's all about finding satisfying and nutritious options that fit into your routine.
And speaking of routines, let's not forget about physical activity. It's not just about what you eat, it's about how you move.
The Commonwealth Care Alliance had some really great tips for incorporating more movement into your day, even if you're super busy. They said it doesn't have to be like training for a marathon or anything. Even small bursts of activity like taking the stairs instead of the elevator or going for a quick walk during your lunch break can make a huge difference in your blood sugar control.
Absolutely. The key is to find activities that you actually enjoy and that you can stick with long term.
And doing regular blood glucose monitoring is really important for understanding how your body responds to different foods and activities, right? The Commonwealth Care Alliance was really clear about that.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. It's like an essential tool for really personalizing your diabetes management plan. By tracking your blood sugar levels, you can see how different foods, exercise, even stress affects you. This gives you the power to make adjustments as needed and really take control of your health.
You know, one thing that really stood out to me from these sources was how much they emphasized the mental and emotional side of living with diabetes. It's not just a physical condition. It can really impact your overall well-being.
You're absolutely right. While not all of the articles talked about mental health specifically,
Yeah.
it definitely felt like there was an understanding of the challenges that come with managing a chronic condition like diabetes.
The Culinary Balancing Act article especially highlighted how important it is to find joy in food and not feel like you're constantly being deprived or restricted. They emphasized that a diabetes-friendly diet can still be delicious and satisfying.
And that's so important. It's about making sustainable changes that you can actually stick with long term. It's not about being perfect, it's about making progress.
I also appreciated that several sources like the Mayo Clinic and Yale Medicine stressed the importance of getting professional guidance. A registered dietitian can be an amazing resource in helping you create a meal plan that's tailored to your specific needs, preferences, and cultural background.
Absolutely. They can help you navigate all that confusing nutrition information out there and empower you to make choices that actually support your diabetes management goals.
It's so important to remember that you don't have to go through this alone. There's a whole team of healthcare professionals who are there to help you every step of the way. You know, as we've been talking about all this stuff about diet and diabetes, I keep thinking back to that analogy from the Culinary Balancing Act article. You know, the one about managing diabetes being like conducting an orchestra?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. It really gets at how complex and nuanced diabetes management can be.
It does. It's not just about cutting out foods or following strict rules. It's more about understanding how all the different pieces work together to create a healthy balance.
Exactly. Like a conductor has to balance the different sections of the orchestra, the strings, the brass, the percussion. We have to think carefully about the different parts of our diet, the carbs, proteins, fats, fiber, and how they all interact with each other and with our bodies.
It really makes you realize that you're not just passively following a diet. You're actively taking charge of your health.
And just like a symphony takes practice, and fine-tuning managing diabetes is an ongoing process. You're always learning, adapting, and making changes as you go.
Speaking of changes, I think it's important to acknowledge that managing diabetes can feel pretty overwhelming sometimes. There's just so much information, and it can be tough to know where to even start.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to have a good support system. Whether it's your family, friends, healthcare providers, or a diabetes support group, having people to lean on can make a huge
And
difference.
remember, every journey starts with a single step. Don't try to change everything overnight. Start by making one small change at a time.
Yeah, like maybe swap out sugary drinks for water, or add an extra serving of veggies to your plate, or take a short walk after dinner.
Those small changes can really add up over time. And don't get discouraged if you have setbacks along the way. Diabetes management is a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. It's all about progress, not perfection. And remember, you're not alone in this. There are so many resources out there to help you, including those awesome sources you sent us.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into diabetes and diet. We covered a ton of information today, from the basics of diabetes to the super important role that diet plays in managing this complex condition.
We talked about balanced meals, the glycemic index, the power of fiber hydration, and we even touched on the importance of physical activity and mental well-being.
And we can't forget about how important it is to get personalized care from healthcare professionals and to build a strong support system.
Hopefully you learned some useful things today and feel ready to take control of your health.
Before we go, we want to remind you to like, share, and subscribe to Visions Beyond. Your support helps us keep bringing you these deep dives into the topics you care about.
And don't forget to leave a comment down below telling us what other topics you'd like us to tackle in future videos and podcasts. We're always looking for new adventures and knowledge.
Thanks for joining us on this awesome exploration of diabetes and diet. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.